hasn't really aged that well. He's only 40 years old, but he looks...
It's crazy how some of hip-hop's biggest legends, the very voices that defined entire eras, now look nothing like the icons we once knew. For some, time was kind. For others, the years came like a thief in the night, stealing youth in ways that shocked fans.
It's no way on God's green earth that Boozy badass.
From seizures at 30 to addictions that left faces unrecognizable, these are the rappers whose images aged faster than their music. And just when you think the list couldn't possibly get any more shocking, wait until you see number 6. It will leave you speechless. And we're not clowning looks. We're tracing the visible toll of illness, addiction, prison, surgeries, and extreme weight on 20 hip-hop figures: what happened, why it happened, and how it shows. We'll count down from 20 to 1. Let's kick off with number 20, Big Pun. Christopher Rios, better known as Big Pun, was one of the greatest lyrical heavyweights hip-hop ever saw. At his peak in the late 90 seconds, Pun was a master of breath control, spitting complex bars with the speed and precision that rappers half his size couldn't match. But behind the charisma was a hidden crisis. His weight ballooned throughout his career, topping 600 pounds. Doctors warned him he was in dangerous territory, and in 1999 he even checked into Duke University's weight loss program, dropping about 100 pounds. But within months, he regained it all. The relapse wasn't just physical, it reflected the depression and stress he carried as a husband, father, and rising superstar. In February 2000, Pun canceled an SNL performance due to illness. 2 days later, he collapsed from a fatal heart attack at just 28. Friends recalled how sick he looked in his final weeks, vomiting after meals and struggling to breathe. Thousands lined the Bronx streets for his funeral. Pun's tragedy is that he died young, but looked decades older, proof that even legends can't outrun untreated health battles. Next is number 19, Prodigy, Mobb Deep. Albert Prodigy Johnson wasn't just a rapper, he was a survivor. From birth, he battled sickle cell anemia, a rare genetic disease that causes excruciating pain episodes and often shortens lives. That pain shaped his artistry. You can hear it in tracks like "You Can Never Feel My Pain," where he raps with brutal honesty about the agony of living in a body that feels like it's at war with itself. Sickle cell left him in and out of hospitals, often frail and underweight even while rapping about Queensbridge toughness. But instead of hiding it, Prodigy wove the struggle into his music, turning personal illness into hardcore authenticity. In June 2017, while hospitalized for complications, he tragically choked on an egg and died at just 42. His passing wasn't just a loss for hip-hop, it sparked conversations about racial healthcare disparities, as sickle cell has long been underfunded and under-researched compared to other diseases. Prodigy's story is bigger than rap. It's about a man who turned lifelong pain into timeless art, leaving a legacy that forces us to see the hidden toll illness takes on Black lives in America. At number 18, we have Biz Markie. Nobody brought fun to hip-hop like Biz Markie. Known as the Clown Prince of Rap, he gave us one of the genre's most beloved anthems, Just a Friend, and his goofy charisma made him unforgettable. But away from the stage, Biz was locked in a battle with diabetes. Doctors warned him that if he didn't change, he risked losing his feet or worse. Determined to survive, Biz shed over 140 pounds through diet and lifestyle changes, even proudly telling fans he was trying to get off all medication. For a while, it worked. He moved easier, breathed easier, and returned to performing with a new energy. But diabetes is unforgiving. Complications caught up, leading to a stroke in 2020 that left him weakened. By the time he passed in 2021 at 57, fans could see how much the disease had taken from him. The spark dimmed, the body worn down. Biz's story is a bittersweet one. He fought hard, made changes, and inspired others. But sometimes even courage can't fully conquer chronic illness. He reminded us that laughter doesn't erase pain, it just makes it easier to bear. Number 17, Mac Miller. Mac Miller's story is one of talent, vulnerability, and tragedy. Bursting onto the scene with Blue Slide Park, he was the baby-faced Pittsburgh kid who seemed destined for long success. But fame at a young age came with demons. Mac openly used lean, cocaine, and pills to self-medicate his depression, admitting in interviews that he was so f***ed up all the time during his 2012 tour. His 2014 mixtape Faces was essentially a diary of his addiction. At one point he rapped, "A drug habit like Philip Hoffman will probably put me in a coffin." Despite attempts at sobriety and moments of clarity, the struggle never fully let go. By 2018, fans noticed the changes. the puffier face, the tired eyes, the heaviness in his voice. When he died of an accidental overdose at just 26, it felt like a prophecy fulfilled. What makes Mac's aging so heartbreaking is that he saw it happening and even warned us through his music. He wanted to live, he wanted to get better, but the weight of fame and addiction proved too much. His youthful glow faded too soon, replaced by the burden of survival. Number 16 is Fat Joe. For decades, Fat Joe was a fixture in New York hip-hop, known for his sharp fashion sense and bigger-than-life persona. But after the death of his close friend Big Pun, Joe spiraled into depression, drinking heavily and watching his weight climb to nearly 470 pounds. Already diagnosed with diabetes as a child, Joe knew he was playing with fire. A wake-up call pushed him to take drastic action. Instead of surgery, he educated himself about nutrition, calling the body a computer that reacts to everything you feed it. Over time, he lost around 200 pounds and even got off insulin. His health improved, but his look changed dramatically. The dramatic weight loss left his face slimmer, his skin looser, and fans commented that he suddenly looked much older. In interviews, Joe admitted he once considered rebranding himself as Slim Joe, but realized Fat Joe had become his identity. His transformation shows a paradox: he extended his life and gained health, but visually aged in the process. It's proof that health victories don't always align with the way we expect them to look, and that survival sometimes comes at a cosmetic cost. Number 15. Old Dirty Bastard. Old Dirty Bastard was pure chaos wrapped in charisma. With his gold teeth, wild braids, and unpredictable stage antics, he was the heartbeat of Wu-Tang's rebellious energy. But that same wild spirit came with self-destruction. ODB battled mental health struggles, constant run-ins with the law, and heavy drug use. He was in and out of prison, rehab, and tabloids, sometimes for erratic performances, sometimes for wild arrests like storming the stage at the Grammys. By the early 2000s, the toll was clear. His once bright eyes looked exhausted, his body frail, his face worn down far beyond his years. When he signed to Rockefeller shortly before his death, fans noticed he looked more like a man in his 50s than in his mid-30s. In 2004, ODB collapsed in a New York studio just 2 days before turning 36. A Redditor summed it up: ODB didn't age badly, he lived fast, and it showed. His life was a sprint, and every scar, wrinkle, and weary look told that story. Number 14. Flavor Flav. If Chuck D was Public Enemy's stern professor, Flavor Flav was the comic book energy clocks, shades, and a manic voice that made the group unforgettable. But behind the hype man persona, Flav battled crippling addiction. At one point, he admitted to spending up to $2,600 a day on crack, a habit that lasted for years. The drug stripped him of his teeth, left his frame frail, and fueled erratic behavior that turned him into both a reality TV star and, sadly, a meme. VH1's Flavor of Love brought laughs, but also showed a man visibly aged by excess. Even after he got sober more than a decade ago, the damage lingered in his appearance. Deep lines, worn-down health, and a body older than his years. A fan on Twitter once said, "Flav aged in dog years, drugs took his youth." It's harsh but true. Redemption has kept him alive, but the scars of his past are written on his face forever. Number 13. Mystical. Mystical was once hailed as the James Brown of hip-hop, a raspy, high-octane performer whose energy electrified stages. In the late 90s, with hits like Shake Ya Ass and Danger, he looked untouchable, fit, sharp, and full of charisma. But his career derailed in 2004 when he was sentenced to 6 years in prison on sexual battery and extortion charges. Prison has a way of aging people twice as fast, and Mystical was no exception. When he was released in 2010, fans were shocked by how different he looked: older, heavier, and with his spark dim. Later arrests and ongoing legal battles only weighed him down further, tarnishing his reputation and dragging him further from the vibrant performer he once was. A fan comment captured the sentiment: "This ain't the same Mystical. Prison broke him body, mind, and career." Today, instead of being remembered for his stage brilliance, many remember the decline. His aging isn't just physical, it's the visual proof of wasted potential. Next is number 12. Shock G. Shock G, the man behind the alter ego Humpty Hump, brought pure joy to hip-hop in the late 80s and early 90s. With his playful disguise, funky dance moves, and infectious humor, he made Digital Underground unforgettable and even helped launch Tupac's career. But behind the smile was a struggle. Shock G wrestled with substance abuse for decades. and by the 2000s, his once vibrant energy began to fade. Interviews showed a slower, more tired version of the performer fans remembered. In April 2021, tragedy struck when he was found in a Tampa hotel room from an accidental overdose. He was only 57, but fans said he looked much older in his final years. One fan tweeted, "From Humpty Hump to heartbreak, Shock G gave us joy, but his pain aged him before his time." His face told the story of a man who carried laughter on stage but wrestled with shadows off it. The party never stopped, but the cost was written in his years. Let's move to number 11, Scott Storch. Scott Storch isn't a rapper, but his fingerprints are on some of the biggest rap records of the 2000s hits for Dr. Dre, 50 Cent, Beyonce, and more. At his peak, he was worth around $70 million, living in mansions, flying private jets, and surrounding himself with celebrities. But cocaine addiction dragged him into one of hip-hop's most infamous downfalls. He admitted to blowing through $30 million in just 6 months, buying cars, yachts, and drugs. By 2006, his empire crumbled. In 2015, he filed for bankruptcy, listing just $3,600 in assets. Photos of him during this period shocked fans. The once polished hitmaker looked gaunt, hollow, and decades older. Though he's since rebuilt part of his career and works in studios again, the damage was permanent. His before and after images are a cautionary tale for the entire industry. Success can vanish overnight, and the physical toll of addiction leaves scars money can't erase. Storch aged not just from time, but from burning years in fast motion. Number 10. Lil Boosie. Boosie Badazz. Boosie Badazz has always been Baton Rouge's rawest voice, unfiltered, defiant, and the sound of the block. But behind that bravado, his health has been a battlefield. Diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at just 19, every day became a negotiation with insulin shots and unpredictable blood sugar crashes. He once admitted to throwing up mid-performance because he missed a dose. In 2015, the stakes got higher. A kidney cancer diagnosis led to emergency surgery, leaving scars that didn't just alter his body, but his whole presence on stage. Prison time only deepened the damage. Poor medical care left him weaker and more vulnerable. Now, fans see the difference. The thinner frame, the tired eyes, the honesty in his Instagram posts where he often asks for prayers. Boosie still records, still performs, but his appearance tells a deeper truth. This isn't drama, it's the cost of survival and the reality of living decades with a disease that never takes a day off. At number 9, Coolio. Coolio gave us Gangsta's Paradise, an anthem that defined the 90 seconds and crossed every boundary. His spiky braids became a cultural signature, almost as recognizable as his music. But time wasn't kind. Years of stress, hard living, and past cocaine use caught up with him. His once thick braids began to thin out, turning into what the internet cruelly dubbed struggle braids. Coolio rolled with the jokes, even laughing about them in interviews, but behind the humor, his body was failing. By the 2010 seconds, he appeared frail, visibly older than his peers, his once youthful spark fading fast. When he passed in 2022 at just 59, many fans were stunned at how worn he looked in his final years, aged beyond his time. One tweet captured the tragedy perfectly. Coolio gave us a paradise, but life didn't give him one. His decline was a reminder that fame doesn't shield you from the relentless weight of time, health, and hardship. At number 8, we have Trick Daddy. In the late 90 seconds and early 2000s, Trick Daddy was Miami's king, raw, raspy, and unapologetically street. But behind the music, he was carrying a hidden enemy, lupus. Diagnosed in 1998, he admitted he hated the side effects of the medication and refused to stay consistent with treatment. That decision left marks literally. Lupus scarred and discolored his skin, a visual reminder of the disease eating at him from the inside out. By the time he appeared on Love and Hip Hop, Miami, fans saw a very different Trick Daddy, tired, scared, and honest about his regrets. He admitted he should have taken better care of himself, but now he lived with the consequences. Younger Trick looked untouchable, like the voice of a city. Older Trick looked like a man who had fought too many battles, both internal and external. Lupus doesn't just age the body, it erodes it. And in Trick Daddy's case, it left him visibly decades older than his years. Number 7, Beanie Sigel. Beanie Sigel was once Rockefeller's enforcer, the baritone voice that sounded like power itself. In the early 2000s, he stood shoulder to shoulder with Jay-Z, battling Nas and holding his own against anyone. But in 2006, a shooting left him shaken. Then in 2014, another bullet tore into his stomach during an attempted robbery. Doctors were forced to remove one of his lungs. That single moment changed everything. The booming voice turned raspy, his breath short, his presence weaker. Legal troubles piled on prison stints for tax evasion and weapons charges robbed him of years he should have spent building his legacy. When he finally resurfaced, fans were stunned at how fragile he looked. The once feared general now appeared frail, thin, and vulnerable. One fan on a rap forum put it bluntly, Beanie went from feared to fragile. His aging isn't just about looks, it's about what violence and bad fortune can steal from even the strongest among us. Sliding in at number 6, Lil' Kim. Lil' Kim's transformation is one of hip-hop's most debated stories. In the 90 seconds, she was radiant, the queen bee, fearless, glamorous, redefining what power and beauty look like in hip-hop. She was bold, unapologetic, and adored. But beneath the diamond-studded image were deep insecurities. In 2000, she admitted in an interview that men constantly cheated on her with European-looking women, and that pain planted a seed. Over the years, surgeries followed, changing her nose, her skin tone, her entire appearance. Each new public sighting sparked debate, reinvention or destruction. By 2019, selfies she posted lit the internet on fire, with fans comparing her to Michael Jackson. Some defended her right to choose her look, while others mourned the Lil' Kim they once knew. One viral tweet summed it up, "She was perfect the way she was. Now I don't even recognize her." Lil' Kim's story is bigger than tabloid gossip. It's an X-ray of what fame, beauty standards, and pressure can do when you're forced to live forever under the spotlight's mirror. Now at number 5, Busta Rhymes. In the 90 seconds, Busta Rhymes was a human exclamation point, wild dreads flying, animated videos, and a machine gun flow that made him larger than life. But behind the superhero image came real loss. The death of his father and close friends drove him into depression, and food and alcohol filled the void. His weight ballooned, and health issues stacked up. He developed severe sleep apnea and throat polyps that blocked nearly 90% of his airway. Breathing became so dangerous that doctors warned him he could die in his sleep. The wake-up call came from his son, who told him, "Dad, you look like you're dying." It broke him, but it also sparked change. Busta hit the gym, shed weight, and worked to rebuild his health. Still, a viral 2021 clip of him gasping for air mid-performance reminded fans, the body never forgets years of damage. Even legends pay the bill eventually, and Busta's story is proof that no energy lasts forever. Number 4 is Eminem. Eminem built his career on shock value bleach blonde hair, middle fingers, and a lyrical snarl that dared anyone to look away. But in 2007, the real shock came when he nearly lost his life. Years of pill abuse caught up when a methadone overdose left him hours from death. He had to relearn basic motor skills, walking, talking, even rapping. Sobriety saved him, but it also changed him forever. The youthful Slim Shady who once looked immortal was gone. What remained was a sober survivor, his sharp face hollowed, his eyes heavy with experience. Fans noticed the difference, with one YouTube comment saying, "He's alive, but Shady died years ago." It captured the truth. Addiction took one version of Eminem away, and a different one emerged healthier, wiser, but visibly aged. His career lived on, but his image became a mirror of what survival costs. Sometimes you don't just beat addiction, you bury the version of yourself it nearly destroyed. Let's talk about number 3, Black Rob. Black Rob gave us one of hip-hop's most unforgettable tracks with "Whoa," a song that still echoes across parties decades later. But his story ended with a heartbreaking contrast. In April 2021, just days after DMX's passing, a video surfaced of Rob in a hospital bed. He looked frail, weak, and painfully honest as he sent condolences while revealing his own fight. He spoke of multiple strokes, years of dialysis, and not even having stable housing. It wasn't rumor, it was his own words, showing fans the cost of survival in real time. Weeks later, he was gone, passing at 52 from cardiac arrest linked to kidney disease. Peers like Mark Curry and LL Cool J remembered him as a storyteller, a gentleman, and an underrated gem of bad boy records. But for many fans, the lasting image is that final hospital clip, raw, vulnerable, and unforgettable. Black Rob's decline wasn't tabloid gossip, it was truth, captured on camera, too late to change. Number 2, DMX. DMX wasn't just a rapper, he was a force of nature. His gravelly voice carried like a sermon, his energy turned concerts into revivals, and his raw honesty made millions feel seen. But his pain was always part of the story. At 14, a mentor handed him a blunt laced with crack, sparking a lifetime battle with addiction. From there, the cycle repeated: success, relapse, prison, rehab, breakdown. The toll was visible. His once muscular frame withered, his teeth were gone, and his eyes carried exhaustion. Yet fans loved him because he never hid it. Every album had a prayer. Every interview carried truth. As one Redditor put it, DMX aged terribly, but only because life treated him terribly. In April 2021, after a heart attack linked to an overdose, X passed at 50. The world mourned not just a rapper, but a man who carried collective pain like it was his job. DMX aged in public, and every scar told his story. And finally, number 1, Lil Wayne. There was a time when hip-hop arguments ended with one name: Wayne. From the Hot Boys to his legendary mixtape run, his baby face and endless energy made him look untouchable. But fame came with a hidden cost. Years of lean, endless touring and undiagnosed epilepsy led to seizures that made headlines: emergency plane landings, canceled shows, near-death scares. By his early 40s, the signs were written across his body. His once thick dreadlocks thinned, his frame shrank, and his skin looked weathered by stress and years of abuse. Fans began saying the same thing: Wayne looks 60 at 40. Lean robbed him of his youth. And yet, he remains unstoppable, still dropping verses, still selling out arenas, still defying the odds. That's the paradox of Lil Wayne. His voice sounds ageless, but his reflection tells a different story. He is both a living legend and a cautionary tale, proof that even the greatest can't escape what time and health take away. Now, some of these artists are still out there moving stages like nothing's wrong. Fat Joe found a healthier lane. Boosie fights his condition openly. Trick Daddy uses his platform to urge people not to make his medical mistakes. Survivors like Eminem carry the weight differently now, and in Wayne's case, the question is whether the body can keep up with the legend a little longer. If this is just the tip of the iceberg, what else is hip-hop hiding in plain sight? How many icons are pushing through illness, grief, or habits they don't talk about? Which transformation shocked you the most? Was it the lightning fade of Big Pun, the hospital bed honesty of Black Rob, the surgical metamorphosis of Lil Kim, or the relentless survival of Lil Wayne? Drop your thoughts below. The stories don't end here, and neither does the conversation.